Complicated borderlands are regions of the world where international borders are disputed or have experienced conflict due to political, cultural, economic, or historical reasons. These regions are often characterized by complex ethnic and cultural identities, which have led to persistent territorial disputes, separatist movements, and geopolitical tensions. Examples of complicated borderlands can be found across the globe, and they share common features that have shaped their complicated history and present. One of the most notable examples of a complicated borderland is the Kashmir region, located between India and Pakistan. The region has been a source of conflict between the two countries since their independence from British colonial rule in 1947. The dispute over Kashmir's sovereignty has led to several wars, proxy conflicts, and human rights violations. The conflict involves multiple parties, including the local population, India, Pakistan, and China, and it remains unresolved to this day. The roots of the Kashmir conflict can be traced back to the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947, which left Kashmir divided between the two countries. The local population was predominantly Muslim, but the ruler of the region, Maharaja Hari Singh, was a Hindu. The decision by the ruler to accede to India instead of Pakistan led to a rebellion by local Muslim separatists, which was supported by Pakistan. India and Pakistan went to war over Kashmir in 1947-48, and the conflict has continued ever since, with sporadic outbreaks of violence and human rights abuses. The Balkans, a region located in southeastern Europe, is another example of a complicated borderland. The Balkans are known for their ethnic and religious diversity, which has led to numerous conflicts throughout history. The most recent conflicts occurred during the breakup of Yugoslavia in the 1990s, when several ethnic groups sought to establish their own independent states. The conflicts resulted in the displacement of millions of people, widespread violence, and war crimes. Today, the region remains divided along ethnic and political lines, and tensions continue to simmer. The roots of the Balkan conflicts can be traced back to the Ottoman Empire, which ruled the region for centuries. The Ottoman Empire collapsed after World War I, and the Balkans were divided among several new states. However, the new states were not based on ethnic or cultural boundaries, which led to tensions and conflict. The breakup of Yugoslavia in the 1990s was the culmination of these tensions, as several ethnic groups sought to establish their own independent states. The conflicts were characterized by ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and the displacement of millions of people. The Middle East is also a region characterized by complicated borderlands, with several territorial disputes and ongoing conflicts. One of the most long-standing conflicts in the region is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which has been ongoing for decades. The conflict involves competing claims over land, resources, and political power. The conflict has led to several wars, human rights violations, and ongoing tensions in the region. In addition to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the Middle East is home to several other complicated borderlands, including the Syrian civil war, the conflict in Yemen, and tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia. The roots of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can be traced back to the early 20th century, when Zionists began immigrating to Palestine, then part of the Ottoman Empire. After World War I, Palestine became a British mandate, and Jewish immigration continued. After World War II, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab. The plan was accepted by the Jews but rejected by the Arabs, and war broke out in 1948. The war resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, who became refugees. The conflict has continued ever since, with periodic outbreaks of violence and human rights abuses. The Korean Peninsula is another example of a complicated borderland, with the division of North and South Korea along the 38th parallel. The division was a result of the Korean War, which began in 1950 when North Korea invaded South Korea. The war lasted 3 years and resulted in an armistice, but no peace treaty was signed, leaving the two Koreas technically at war. The division has led to stark differences in political and economic systems, with North Korea being a reclusive authoritarian state and South Korea being a democratic, capitalist country. The division also leads to ongoing tensions and periodic incidents of military confrontation. The border between Mexico and the United States is also a complicated borderland, with ongoing tensions over immigration, trade, and drug trafficking. The border is marked by a physical barrier, but it is also characterized by cultural and economic exchange. The border region is home to millions of people who have both Mexican and American identities. And the flow of people and goods across the border is vital to the economies of both countries. However, the border is also a site of conflict, with ongoing debates over immigration policy, the treatment of migrants, and drug trafficking. The roots of the conflict over the U.S.-Mexico border can be traced back to the 19th century, when Mexico lost much of its territory to the United States. The border has shifted over time, with the current border established in the mid-20th century. The flow of people and goods across the border has been shaped by economic and political factors, including the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and U.S. immigration policy. The border has also been a site of violence, with drug cartels and organized crime operating on both sides of the border. Complicated borderlands share common features, including diverse ethnic and cultural identities, competing claims over land and resources, and geopolitical tensions. These factors can lead to ongoing conflicts and human rights abuses, as well as political and economic instability. However, these regions also offer opportunities for cultural exchange, economic cooperation, and political reconciliation. Resolving conflicts in complicated borderlands requires dialogue, compromise, and a commitment to human rights and social justice. International organizations and governments can play a crucial role in promoting peace and stability in these regions, but ultimately, it is the local populations that must lead the way towards lasting peace. Thanks for watching.